Well, we're joined now by Alexander Rodnyansky. He is the current advisor to Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. A very warm welcome to the programme to you. Look, the West have really seen Zelenskyy as a bit of a hero in the last week. How much is that an empty sentiment for you? I mean, we can praise him all we like, but at the end of the day, he's in a very, very difficult position, isn't he?
That's right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It is a precarious situation. War is just raging throughout our country. But of course, we are all sort of motivated and just, taken by the bravery of our people and our army. So yes, it is quite heroic what is happening.
Are you in daily contact with the president at all?
So I'm not going to comment on that, but I am in daily contact with the presidential team, of course. I am a presidential advisor. All hands are full. We have to just work beyond the usual schedules. We have to do things that we normally wouldn't do, all of us. So, yes, it's a full load.
We have a phrase in English which is, cometh the hour, cometh the man. And I see you smiling there. Your boss is the man, isn't he? Your president is the man. There's such respect for him and adulation. And I say this disparagingly, but there wasn't supposed to be. This man was supposed to be an actor, a comedian, a stand-up, a man who won Strictly Come Dancing. And look at him, he's conducted himself with such dignity. People have huge respect for him.
Well, that's right. I mean, never judge a book by its cover. And you also have to live up to the job. And that's what he did. He lived up to the job. He lived up to the task and the challenge ahead of us. And he's doing that every day. So we're fully behind him. The country is completely consolidated behind the president. All the previous differences and disputes have been put aside. He has above 90% support rating at the moment. So yes, the country is fully consolidated. And in fact, you could say that the Russian side achieved everything it always never wanted to achieve. So it managed to consolidate our people to such an extent as nobody could have ever imagined.
But he has to live with the threat, not only the day-to-day threat of being a citizen of Kiev, for instance, but that the fact that the Russians want him assassinated. They want his scalp. That must be terrible pressure for him to live with.
Well, yes. I mean, it's exactly that. On the other hand, I have to say, I mean, we know what the Russians are capable of. I mean, we were part of the Soviet Union, and we know how to stand our ground. I mean, we're not scared of any Russian. And this is our country. We'll keep defending it. So it is true, they're sending all sorts of special forces. In fact, we know that they have been sending Chechen special forces to execute these sorts of jobs, and we've been successful in completely liquidating them. So this is not going to go anywhere for them.
I just want to know, we're 1 week into this war now. Straight after this interview, we're speaking to a minister from the UK government. What is it that you need at the moment? We're seeing that the first city has fallen. The great fear, I suppose, is that it will be the first of many, and the ultimate trophy for Putin will be Kyiv. What more can we do to support you?
That's right. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for all the support the West is giving us, and Britain in particular. I would say we still need maximum support on the military side, arms, equipment, anti-tank, air defense systems in particular. But also, we'd really like to have a no-fly zone over Ukraine. That would really kind of ease the task for us. And make no mistake, one way or the other, NATO and the West will have to engage at some point, right? Whether it's a direct conflict or not. I mean, this is a big problem to stay, right? This regime is a big threat to the whole world. And the sooner you recognize this, the better it is for everyone. That's just what I believe. And so that's what we need on the one hand. On the other hand, we need economic support because we still have our social obligations. We have to pay pensions. So we're also receiving that. So thank you.
How are you feeling, Alexander, with this Pierce movement, this movement coming from from south, coming from east, coming from the north of the country as well, this Pincer movement, I'm trying to say. Do you feel that it's inevitable that the Russians will eventually break through?
I don't think it's inevitable. At least I don't believe that. So they've had some success with terrible losses on their side in the south. We knew that the south is probably easier for them to proceed. So the first city of Kherson has really fallen to them. But again, there isn't really as much strategic value to Kherson as to some other cities. They've failed miserably so far, way beyond what they would have ever expected in the north, in the biggest cities. So in Kharkiv and Kiev, they're not having any success whatsoever, and they're counting heavy losses. So I think it's not guaranteed whatsoever that they will actually succeed. But of course, there is a risk. I mean, they do have the bigger army. They do have the upper hand, if you want, in terms of their ultimate military capabilities. They are a nuclear power, and they keep talking about it, actually. Again, that's another reason why you're not going to just be able to sit this out. So I think, no, so far it looks like we are actually winning, if you want, because we're counting the much fewer losses, and we have much higher morale, and this is our country, and they're not having any strategic success so far.
I just want to ask you, United Nations saying 1 million refugees now have fled your country. A tragedy in itself, of course, people having to leave their homes, but of course the impact on the country left behind. We've spoken this morning on the programme to some of those people who've decided to stay. Now, the big fear for them, as President Zelenskyy has said overnight, is that President Putin is trying to erase Ukraine, that those people will be the collateral damage of this war. Are you advising your citizens to stay, the women, the children, or do you think it would be safer at this stage if they can to get out before President Putin carries out this siege, starve and surrender strategy?
Well, of course, that's a very difficult question. So first of all, we're advising people not to panic as far as possible. We're still securing the cities. We still have food supplies. We still have shelter. We still have, people can still live in the cities, although, of course, it's becoming harder. And we do have curfews, and it's dangerous. So we're not telling, on the one hand, we're not trying to cause too much panic. On the other hand, we do have a full-scale war. So we're not keeping people from leaving. Of course, women with children and the elderly have already left to a large extent and are leaving the big cities. And that's, of course, we're helping them with that. On the other hand, the men have to stay.
Alexander, so much talk and hopefully so much hope attached to peace talks and negotiations, and those negotiations would presumably have to involve concessions on both sides. What is your country prepared to concede?
Nothing in terms of our sovereignty.
Nothing.
In terms of our sovereignty, no. This is our country. It's internationally recognized in its border. This is completely beyond any discussion.
Okay, so nothing as regards sovereignty, but what? Is there anything that's negotiable, do you think?
Look, I mean, ultimately, and this is my position, and I think, most people would agree, we want, in the long run, we want a friendly, peaceful relationship with Russia. The solution to that and the way to achieve this is actually within Russia. We are a democratic country. We've never picked any fights with anybody, and Russia, of course. And the only reason this is happening is because Russia is a repressive, autocratic state with a person at the top who cares only about his imperial ambitions, doesn't care about any lives lost or whatever. And the solution to this war and to solving this crisis lies in that domain. So we're willing to help Russia in that sense, achieve these transitions, achieve these changes that will help find that solution, but we're not willing to compromise on our own sovereignty.
Okay, Alexander Rodnyansky, thank you very much indeed for your time, for speaking to us. Mr. Rodnyansky is an advisor to the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Thank you very much indeed. Stay safe.